goes.
Hi, Dale. Hi, Nancy.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Hi. Hi, Keith.
Hello.
Welcome, Corey.
Busy field today.
Oh, there he is. Scott was on here
Yeah, he
earlier.
was, but I don't see any dots down at the bottom,
Uh-uh.
so I'm guessing it's not there.
Okay. I'm showing 4 o'clock. I know Nancy has to run to catch a flight this afternoon, and I've got to mow my lawn. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Call this meeting to order at 4 o'clock. One announcement, Troy Hauptman will be joining us after he is done meeting with a city council member. So he should be on here in about 20 or 30 minutes. Did we receive any public comment?
No.
Okay. No
Eddie.
public comment. We will.
Eddie, do we have a quorum?
Well, I don't think we're going to be voting on anything, Dale. Not for a while, at least.
No, I think we will be.
We've got the bylaws thing that we need to change the meeting date in the bylaws.
There's 4 of them now that Kyle jumped in.
Niall just jumped on, so now you should have
Okay.
4. But you need
Good.
5 for a quorum, don't you?
Hello.
Hey, now. All right. We don't have the written
afternoon. How's
minutes,
everyone?
however, it is a recording. You can refer to that for the March 4th special meeting. I think everybody received Niall's email and Troy Hauptman's response to said email. If anyone would like to volunteer to write those meeting minutes, be my guest. But I think it's sufficient for me just on YouTube. I can scroll through and check everything out. But if somebody wants to write it, be my guest.
Eddie, do we know if the city council uses a technology to record its minutes? There's a transcription of the minutes that's, I think, almost simultaneous. I don't know if they use a voice recognition software or something like that might be available. I don't know. I just thought it might be something worth looking into.
Yeah, that's a good question. Penny, do you have the answer to that?
No, I do not, but I can find out.
Okay, we can check into it. I know I asked Troy a similar question a few days ago. If we could put in bookmarks almost like item 1A, as you're scrolling along the time bar there on YouTube. But we can look into it, see if there's any technology out there to make it a little bit easier to scroll through and go find what you want to listen to. So,
Eddie,
yes, sir.
You got a minute? The minutes don't have to be a transcription of what everybody said, but it should be a formalized document that acknowledges what motions were made, who was present, who was absent, and a synopsis of the items that were on the agenda. I've never seen minutes that were actually a transcription of what everyone said in detail, but just an outline of what was promised, what was passed, and who was present. That's really about all I've ever seen in minutes. That's why I found it rather astounding that the golf committee doesn't do that.
Well, we did do it. Done it in the past. Certainly, I think Troy mentioned we're short-staffed right now, and he'd rather use their bandwidth elsewhere. So again, if you know of any volunteers or if you want to do it yourself, Niall, you're more than welcome. So with that, Penny, I don't think we need to vote on that, correct? Since there's nothing to submit. think you're muted there, but I got the gist of the head shake.
I don't think so. I just didn't know, since it was bylaws, if it needed to be a formal action to make that change.
Eddie,
What changed?
The motion in a second to change it to the Thursday as opposed to Tuesday.
Right. Go.
I thought, did we not have a motion on that before?
A motion on the
Change.
YouTube or the transcription?
No, on the changing of the date to the Thursday.
We have not motioned, or I mean, we are not there yet.
Okay.
Are you?
Let's
talking
move on.
about? Yeah.
No, we can move on to it right now.
Do that.
Let's go to item 2A, the bylaws amendment. Certainly we want everybody here and, participating. That was one of our, big issues last year. People wouldn't show up and wouldn't partake in the conversation or the discussion. Certainly we want that to happen. And, I think one of our committee members, ran into a conflict recently that didn't allow them to come to the Tuesdays. So certainly we want to, make that available for everybody. I would make a motion to change our meetings and the bylaws to the first Thursday of every month to accommodate everybody.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 2B, first T report. We've got Corey on to give a quick little presentation and maybe answer some questions or comments after. What's up, Corey? Take it away.
Hi, thank you so much. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate the invitation. Eddie and Dale reached out to me to present exactly what we have been doing with a program that we call Juniors Play for Free. And essentially, this thing started in 2019. It was kind of the brainchild of myself and Pete Kresnick. We created this in conjunction with the First Tee, the Friends of the First Tee of Greater Wichita. The idea is every junior golfer gets to play all 4 public courses for free. So how we went about raising this money is we had a golf marathon where 15 to 20 of us players play as many holes as we can from sun up to sundown in order to raise that money. Mac Park and Keith has been the home for the golf marathon, and we greatly appreciate the generosity of loaning us the course for those the last 2 years. We paid green fees the first year. So it's been going on since 2019. So we've had 3 golf marathons. So normally what would happen is in April, we would have the golf marathon, March, April, we'd have the golf marathon. But in 2020, it was postponed due to COVID. I believe Troy Hendricks asked us to postpone it to the end of the summer. The first year, 2019, we raised almost $19,000 for that. The Friends of the First Tee was billed $18,000, almost $19,000 for 2,100 rounds of that. So we had the 4 free rounds started in June and went through September. We kind of had a projection and kind of a budget that we wanted to stick with, and we thought if we could raise $20,000 bucks, that's what we think that would cover. And in 2020, we moved the marathon into July, and in that time we raised almost $23,000, 22.5 for the free rounds. The free rounds that we did not start until August 20th or about, and they ran through October 31st. So there was a little bit of confusion on when the for free promotion was paying for those rounds. But it didn't start until the 20th of August and ran through October 31st. So the Friends of the First Tee was billed almost $5,000 for about 550 rounds, 546 rounds to be exact. All in all, junior golfers played in 2020 6,000 rounds. So they did see a almost 4,000 round increase from, or 3,000 round increase from that. So, but the First Tee Greater Wichita was only responsible for 546. So in 2021, we had the marathon in March 19th, and we raised $22,000 again. And we kicked off the For Free program April 16th. So, and we attempted to make it a little bit easier on the pros and the check-ins. So I created a QR code where the parent or the junior golfer can just scan the QR code. It'll take them to our collection, and then they go on from there. So hopefully that QR code has really helped out the pro shops, the check-in and check-out smoothness of that. And this year we negotiated to where the For Free Greater Wichita, or excuse me, the Friends of the First Tee of Greater Wichita pay $8 a round, which is about a 20% discount off the $10 round. So with the golf marathon expenses in 2020, we also paid an additional 94 junior entries into the Augie Navarro Junior Tournament at Sim Park. So we also wanted to eliminate that excuse for those kids not being able to pay for that round there. So we provided 94 entries for that, for those kids. And the good news is that we are also going to team up with Youth on Course. So it's going to be, they reached out to us. Youth on Course provides, they have 100,000 plus members in the United States. They provide 1,400 golf courses across the nation, and it allows the kids to play at all of those 1,400 golf courses for $5. In Wichita, it's still going to be free for those kids, but we're going to piggyback off the name of the Youth on Course, and Central Links is going to help us promote our golf marathon in order to expand that. So all of our kids are going to be members of that Youth on Course, and they go visit whoever throughout the nation. They'll be able to play all the rest of those courses for $5. So our goals for 2021 and beyond is to have at least 3,500 to 4,500 rounds per year that are going to be subsidized, and upwards of that potentially with the money. And we are going to go year round. We're not going to do it for a couple months here or a couple months there. It started on the 19th of April, and it's going to run through December 31st, and then we're going to pick it back up in January 1st, 2022. So the way that it has worked in the past is the city will bill the First Tee, and we cut them a check bi-weekly for those rounds. So just to clear up a little confusion of what some of those numbers that were reported that we had a outstanding balance or anything like that, there wasn't an outstanding balance. We didn't have that. The Friends of the First Tee was only covering a certain part of that, but moving forward, again, we're going to cover everything. So hopefully we can raise some good money for these kids and keep eliminating excuses to get out there, and hopefully those kids bring their parents and they buy a bunch of snacks and ride carts and do all that good stuff that comes along with that. So again, Dale, I appreciate you reaching out to me, and Eddie, thanks for letting me speak and clear anything up. And if you guys have any questions about the golf marathon, I'd be happy to answer them.
I just noticed that we've got a kind of a written summary sent by Penny a few minutes ago. So if anyone wants to refer to that, laid out really nicely and kind of explains everything that Corey just talked about. First off, tremendous organization and a fantastic program. The event itself is a lot of fun, and I don't know what software you guys use, Corey, whether it's Birdie Fire or Golf Genius or whatever, but keeping up, with that in real time. You can see like Corey Novascone is 127 holes in and he's 13 under par. And you can see everybody and how they're doing and how much they're playing. It's a really cool deal. So first off, I want to thank Corey for thinking of this. I guess I'll lump Pete Kresnick into this as well, even though he never invites me out to play WCC, but I'll give him a little shout out there as well. But certainly a great organization, a fantastic program. So I see Dale's hand up, and we will turn it over to him for a question.
Just really quickly, thanks, Corey. And I sat down with Corey and Pete and Rick Navarro, who also deserves some credit for the support for that marathon and the fundraising. And it's there was a little confusion last year. There were a lot of rounds that were played by juniors that weren't covered because of the circumstances. That going forward, it's a really great goal to have 3,500 to 4,500 youth golf covered in coming years. That's an ambitious goal, and I'm sure knowing how hard Corey works, he'll get it done. So it's a great program, and I think the communication between the city and the program is improved. Corey mentioned they're going to enhance the notice at the clubhouse so that juniors are aware when they come in that they're eligible for it. A lot of kids played last year that may not have known about it, but he's fixing that. So good job, Corey, and thanks for making the presentation.
Yeah, thank you again for having me, Dale. And we're going to be a lot more transparent also with and appreciate the generosity of the city to allow us to have that out there, the golf marathon, and also, the behind the scenes work that Shanna has done. I want to thank her for that as well. It's been a good partnership with the city of Wichita, and I'm hoping for bigger and better things to come.
Anybody else have any questions for Corey? All right. Thank you very much, Corey. Good to see you, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We can move on to item 2C, the budget overview with Emma. And with that, I will
Eddie,
Dale, go ahead real quick.
One of the substantive things we have is the RFP proposal. I know that Nancy's has an interest in that. In the interest of time, I wondered if we might move that up to the next on the agenda and deal with that. Just make sure that there's time for her to participate.
That's fine.
After the budget. Okay.
After the budget, before the equipment fund.
Or we can do it now, it'd be great. I mean, I don't know how much time.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay.
You getting up? Okay. All right, Nancy.
All right.
Take it away, Emma.
Okay, mine should be quick and short and sweet. Penny, do you want to share the PowerPoint, or I can, either way? Let me share it. Let me see if I can. I'll just do my screen. Oh, I guess.
Yeah, I got it up there, Emma.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna just go to the next slide. So Troy asked me to wants me to give an update on revenue expense, and this is the revenue year to date. By year to date, I mean April 30th of this year, and I broke down the revenue by division. There's golf admin and the different golf courses. So total, our net position on revenue is about $1,079,409, and the first coming in is tax, and then next is SIM. First is Auburn, and then tax and SIM and MAC, but they are roughly pretty close on revenue. And I do want to point out, last year our net position was $525,479 in the black, so it's a net profit that has been transferred into 2021. However, is not reflected in here, so just keep in mind. That's on the revenue side, and then we're gonna go to expense side next.
Emma?
Yes.
This is Nancy. The golf administration revenue, what is that?
It's mostly, if you wanna go back, Penny, big chunk of it comes from, we have a vending machine or vending reimbursement. So for our vending merchants or vendors, they reimburse us certain amounts for using their services. So that's a big chunk of it. And the rest of it is just miscellaneous admin fee that we provide service for, like entrance fee. So that's where it's from.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then on expense side, is the overall is about 917,862 dollars. And you can see all the breakdowns by individual courses and the golf admin. I do want to point out golf admin expenses since it is a bit high. So I dug deeper on that. If you go to next slide, I do want to point out before, Penny, before you go to next slide, the net position as of end of April is $161,547 in the black. So that's where we are. And for golf admin, I figure you guys might have questions since Troy is no longer with us. Why is it so high still? So overall, 27% roughly is payroll and benefit, 34% is contractual. There's bank charge, software license, maintenance fees, and data center charge for IT, and 38% is city admin charge. And I put down the exact dollar amount on there as well. So I think that probably helped answer questions if you had questions on expense. And next one is Troy wants me to give a balance on the golf equipment replacement fund. The balance as of end of April is $166,654.81. And also he was asking about the most recent activities. So I dug back to 2020 and 2021, and those are the major activities or all activities for last year and this year. I'm not sure if you guys have questions on that or not.
I do.
Okay.
Also on the report that Penny sent us said that McDonald purchased a used fairway mower and Tex Consolver purchased a used T mower. Are those not counted in this? Did those take equipment replacement fund monies or?
It should be. That should be under the $30,000. I have the invoice right here. The invoice says it's to Auburn. It's $30,000. It doesn't say Mac, but I do remember when Trey was here, he was mentioning about Mac as well.
It says Mac and Tex got some mowers, so I'm not sure what $30,000 to Auburn. What was that for?
It just says purchase used lawnmower from Kansas Golf and Turf. Yep, that's what it says here. I can look into that one and see which one that one is for.
Yeah, that's $30,000. That's a pretty nice mower, I'd say.
Yeah, the $45,000 is for the grinder for Auburn as well.
The purchases listed on the maintenance news of the rounds report, those were under $5,000 and paid by the supervisor's credit card. So since those credit card charges haven't been processed yet, that's why you don't see it on this report Emma's providing us.
Okay, that answers that. Thank you. But if Auburn had $30,000,
that was back in September 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, it was last year.
Okay.
Yep.
Dale, did you have a question?
Yeah, I got bumped off and just came back up with this screen, so I don't went on beforehand, but I did have a question. It's my understanding there are some great needs for equipment for the courses now that are being held up. AJ Jenkins, who we talked with, said he saw at Sim Park, they're mowing the rough with the greens mowers, and that there's a need for a mower there. Are we moving forward with the purchases that are in the pipeline? Are there requests on the table right now by our maintenance folks? Maybe Ron has some answers to that. That are being held up. We've got the money there, and the courses are in declining condition. We've got some concerns about lack of staff and lack of equipment that's being reflected in the quality of play right now. Is there a plan to move quickly to buy the equipment we need and to get the staff in place?
Ron,
Ron, I see your hand.
All of the requests that have come in from the maintenance supervisors have been approved by Mr. Hauptman to date, and the purchases have happened or in the process of happening. Currently, within the last week, Gentry, our senior analyst, is meeting with all of the superintendents to put a list of equipment together so we can inventory for the entire division and determine what purchases need to be made immediately and how to spend those golf equipment funds.
That's great news. I hope that moves forward quickly. I know they're in a bind at Sims and probably others. That's good to hear. I hope that gets done shortly. Thank you.
Ron, I see your hand up as well. Did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I can just clarify those mowers. The mower for $30,000 at Auburn last fall would have been a large, wide area mower that is used for rough. Yeah, $30,000 sounds like a lot for a used mower. A new mower of that type would be $60,000 to $70,000.
wow.
So yeah, it's crazy how much golf course equipment is, how the price has gone over the years. So yeah, I saw it on a Purple Wave auction that another superintendent didn't notify the Superintendent Association it was going to be on there. I picked up a used fairway mower for $4,000 last week. It was on the auction. I contacted Mr. Hauptman and he says, use your judgment. And so that worked out well. And I know I've sent in another request today to Mr. Hauptman and Shanna. And so I do not know if they responded by the time I left. I'm sitting in my patio at home doing this. So anyway, yeah, and the grinder that was on there, that is a grinder that all the golf courses use. It is what it's used to sharpen the reels on greens, tees, fairway mowers. It just needs to be done every year. And then the ball picker on there, I believe, was a ball picker for Auburn Hills, which the one that was there was probably 20 years old, I'm guessing. Scott would know.
Yeah, I know they
So,
need it.
Yeah, so yeah, that's where we are. And yeah, like Shanna said, Mr. Hauptman through Shanna requested us to all send equipment inventory to Gentry, and she's putting spreadsheets together and asking what our priorities are. And we're trying to get the best bang for the buck for the money we have available. So,
Ron, I mentioned that staffing issue and the conditions at Auburn. Are you? I know you're doing a tremendous job with the capacity you have. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel where you're going to get the people you need to keep that?
Well,
course?
sure hope so. I've got one in the pipeline now. A young man that worked a couple of years ago. He's in the process of going through the HR stuff. Yeah, we've had, I don't know, we get applicants. 2 of them I contacted. They didn't show up for their interviews. Maybe it's because I told them they would have to get a drug test. I don't know, but if they were selected. But I usually do that up front because they don't need to waste their time, or especially they don't need to waste mine. So, yeah, I think hiring is tough right now. I mean, I drove through a McDonald's at lunch today, yeah, and they've got signs all over the place to apply to McDonald's. So I think, up here that everyone's having trouble finding people, so fortunately I've got a pretty good group of some retired guys that have been with me a few years, and they'd all been in the golf business before. So, they're good mower operators, know what to do and can be efficient. So just need to get a few more people in just to be able to put more butts on mowers to keep up. So
Are we competitive salary wise? Is that one of the obstacles to getting people?
Yeah, I don't know. We've bumped up over the years. We used to start at minimum wage, and we've bumped up to where we start at $9.12 now. And we're allowed to request, if someone has some experience, we are allowed to request to start at on the pay scale 2 steps above that. So that is something that can be done. So, I mean, as far as what other golf courses are paying for seasonal help, I think we're competitive. Yeah, that's not an issue. And so.
And understand we had a policy change recently that the part-timers don't get free golf anymore, which was one of the inducements for them to play. Has that been that just came out of nowhere? Was that the request of you folks, or does that?
No, actually, the policy is they can play for free. there just had to be some standards met to, which is a minimum, they have to work 15 hours a week to be able to do that. So,
And just to clarify on that, we have always had the policy where golf staff that work for us can play golf for free. And years past, we had a minimum requirement of 20 hours that had to be worked per week. And 4 years ago, we removed that and didn't put a constraint as far as how many hours a week had to work. But with our hiring efforts, we only have so many seasonal positions that can be filled. And we found that more and more of the staff were filling those positions, not working enough hours a week to be beneficial for our golf professionals and even our maintenance supervisors. So we combined our efforts to determine 15 hours a week we thought was fair, and we put the policy in writing so everyone had a copy and knew it up front, just to benefit our supervisors that are having struggles hiring people to get the most bang for our buck.
And Ron, I've just been advised that you're at MAC, you're not the guy at Auburn. I've got the Rons confused.
yeah, there's 2 Rons. Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
okay.
My bad on that one.
Yeah.
Well, Ron and Shannon, thank you for the clarification there. Emma, did you have anything else on the budget overview? Oh, mute.
I don't think so. I think that's all was asked. But if you guys have questions, let me know.
Yep. Any questions for Emma?
Emma, I missed the first, I got back online when you're on the equipment. Can you email me the earlier?
Yes.
component?
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you could just send that little
PowerPoint.
the slides, yeah, out
Sure.
here, that's good for our records.
Sure.
Thank
And
you.
in the, on the rounds revenue report, it's much more comprehensive than it used to be, and that's great. But in addition to the rounds, could we in the future have the actual green fee revenue as a part of that report? Just so it's at a snapshot, we can see the whole thing. I mean, you have the concession income on the rounds revenue, but not the green revenue.
I don't think I'm sending that right now, but I can. I think Shanna, are you sending that right now, or do you want me to send it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else for Emma on the budget overview, we can go to item 2E. We're going to skip D real quick, the equipment fund, and go straight to the RFP process. Troy's not on, and I think he was going to probably give us an update, but you know, I can share my conversation that I had with him a few days ago about it. He is close to finalizing the language in that RFP for privatizing the courses. After that, it will come to us and the park board for us to review. If there's something that is outlandish, we feel outlandish, obviously we want our voices heard, and they will be. So we will have an opportunity to be a part of that, and certainly, you know, make our voices heard. So I see Richard's on, and he's got a question, so I'll turn it over to Richard.
Yes, I had, in the past, when we did the RFP proposal, I don't know, 6 years ago, we allowed an alternative to a proposal whereby we allowed the golf division to literally say, okay, this would be an alternative. There is a lot that could be done differently with the system we have now, and it could be very competitive. We requested over a year ago some changes to the increasing the charges on
Richard, you're kind of breaking up there. You might back up a few paragraphs.
Sorry, I'm just wanting to know if the golf, the the GAC could put together a proposal on alternative that would be considered right along with the RFPs. We did it 6 years ago.
Okay, if I'm understanding correctly, the GAC, you would like the GAC to put in a alternative proposal?
Yes.
Is that okay? So obviously I wasn't a part of this 6 years ago, but I was briefed on it, a couple years ago about what happened or what transpired. I don't know what the RFP looks like. Certainly, we will all see that at the same time. At that point, I would raise that question.
Okay.
Nancy?
Yes. I would like to make a motion. I move that the GAC recommend a termination of the current efforts of issuing a request for proposals for privatization of the city's 4 golf courses, and further that the GAC recommend that the city administration begin immediately the process of hiring a new golf division manager with proven credentials in golf course management and marketing.
Second the motion.
We've got a motion and a second. So I'll just say we've been, part of this process for I don't know how long now, but certainly the staff has been working on it longer than what we've been seeing. So I would say this process is probably 10 months in at least. I know they've been working diligently to find a solution. Clearly, the last decade of golf has been rather difficult in terms of numbers, just sheer golfers and money. So if, in my opinion, I think we need to do our due diligence. It doesn't bind us to accept a certain proposal. We can always turn, however many proposals come in, we can turn them all down and then we can go that route. So for me, I can't be supportive of that particular motion because I like to see what's out there and see what's the best and newest practices. So moving forward, I think, in my opinion, that's what we need to do. So.
Well, we're so far into this season, we need some sort of administration taking place now for the remainder of this season. I don't see that the RFP is going to be of any value for this season. And I just kind of feel like we're floundering at this time at the management spot.
Sure. So I would respond with, certainly the RFP is not a end all be all for the 2021 season. And my understanding is Troy Houtman has, taken the lead at Troy Hendrick's position, the golf director. And I've told him numerous times if he feels like it's getting to be too much of a burden, please let us know. And at that point, we could move forward with, looking at a partial or a part-time golf director position while we move through the RFP process. He has not, told me that it's gotten to be too much. And I trust him. He's worked on a golf course before. He's told me numerous stories of him waking up at 3:30 in the morning and going out and, mowing the greens and rolling the greens and, getting in shape every day. So he knows what he's doing, and I trust him. So that's who's running it right now. And to be quite honest with you, just like going back to what Ron said, it's tough to hire right now, especially when you got an RFP. Their future is not exactly certain, and it's probably, we're looking at a 6-month deal. So it'd be really tough to find somebody right now, in my opinion. But I can turn it over to anybody else that may want to discuss this particular topic.
Eddie, if I could, I'd like to note that Greg Ferris, the former member of this body, and Anthony Jenkins, who's leader of the Men's Golf Association. We've had conversations. There's great concern by them. They would be here talking if it wasn't this freaking COVID thing. We can't see each other. But the concern is the courses are deteriorating, and we need a more focused leadership at this point. The problem with the RFP being in place is, you're right, you can't hire anybody. Nobody would apply for a position that might disappear in 6 months. So I think the rationale for this action would be, let's just put the RFP away and proceed as we have in the past, but with a more focused and competent and professional leadership. We are in a good position right now in terms of rounds and in terms of money, and to preserve that, we need to move forward. So the presence of the RFP itself is a deterrent from effective leadership. This is way too much for Mr. Hauptman to handle. We were paying a guy $110,000 a year for that specific duty, and it's an important job. And doing it on a shirt tail like we're doing is only going to result in deteriorating course conditions, which Mr. Ferris, Mr. Jenkins, and others can attest is an ongoing problem. That's the rationale for taking this action. We think it needs to go to the park board if approved, and then also be brought to the attention of the manager and the council that if approved, this is the will of the Golf Advisory Committee.
Well, first of all, welcome, Troy. See, you just hopped on there. I'll put your feet to the fire real quick, right off the bat. Do you feel like this is too much for you? Oh, mute. Gotta love technology.
Yeah. So the question is, what we're doing right now, working with golf and how I'm managing golf along with the rest of the department, is that too much? Is that your question?
That's the question, yep. Is that correct, Dale? Did I pose that properly?
Yeah, I think it's, and I understand that he can do it. You can do anything, but the impact on operations is being noticed on the courses. Mr. Ferris, Mr. Jenkins, myself, Nancy, Richard Schodorf together probably play 1,000 rounds a year. We know what's going on in those courses. We see it firsthand. It's unfortunate that's not true of a lot of folks. They don't necessarily see that, but it's the ongoing stability of the system seems to be at risk. It just doesn't seem to make much sense that you'd expect somebody just to walk in and fill the shoes of somebody who's a PGA professional by definition and was of value in that capacity. I know we will limp through with it the way it is, but this long-term, our perspective, Mr. Ferris, Mr. Jenkins, myself, the others see a risk to the courses if we don't change direction.
So my response to that is I think we are finding opportunities to save some money, put that money back into the courses. I also think working with the staff, the feedback I've been getting from them is that they feel like they're a little bit more independent to get things done. Sounds like from other folks I hear that the course conditions are actually getting better. So it just depends on your perspective, though. So,
Dale, didn't you mention, I think it was about 6 months ago, this is what you were kind of wanting. You wanted the pros at each course to kind of have their own individual, whether it be the retail and the pro shop, you wanted them to run their courses, correct?
Yeah, but that's not the overview of other systems that are successful. I hate to keep bringing up Lincoln, but that's one that does that with their pros, but they still have a business professional who oversees it to make sure that the big picture things are addressed. That's a full-time job. That's a full-time job, and Troy has a full-time job elsewhere, and it's going to shortchange somebody. No, I think there's a model to be looked at where the pros might do something different. I'd leave that to folks like Mr. Weller and Colin to describe, but this immediate need, and you're going to hear this from Mr. Ferris, you're going to hear it from Mr. Jenkins and Randy Bloom, the head of the men's club at Auburn. We are at risk right now, and so but the RFP, let's just keep focused on that. That's the deterrent to hiring somebody, and it's a deterrent to moving in a different direction. That's a decision the manager made, and it doesn't have broad support among golfers. So that's.
I don't think the RFP is the sole deterrent. I think it's the marketplace. Again, going back to what Ron said, McDonald's can't find anybody to work for them.
No, we're not talking about somebody to mow greens. We're talking about a golf professional who runs a system that would be paid in that competitive market, something like you see at courses elsewhere. I'm not talking about the part-time crew hiring. There are folks who are available to fill that position that would help lead us in a more positive direction and take advantage of the good position we're in right now. That's the big risk. We're in a good spot, but without taking a more definitive action, I'm not sure it goes forward. Well,
I think Mike had his hand up earlier. Did you want to say something, Mike?
Yeah. So I totally understand, Nancy and Dale, your comments. I'm going to side with Eddie on this one. I mean, we had a group, kind of unsolicited from an RFP come in and talk about all the ways they can improve things like course conditions, like management, like quality of play and quality of experience. And the general consensus from that call, which I was in agreement with, was, well, why are we fielding a one-off proposal and not an open RFP to address a lot of those same things? So, I agree with that thought process still the way I did then, the way I do now, which is, let's open it up. Let's do what we said we want to do, which is hear proposals from other people to address all these same things we're talking about. And then to Eddie's point, make a decision from there if it's a road we want to go down or, a tie we want to sever at that point. But I don't think we don't listen to it because as some of the things mentioned, I think we, go back to where we were 6 weeks ago and open it up to a true RFP process, not one that was forced on us. That's all I got.
Troy, I think it was before you hopped on, I gave a brief synopsis of our conversation a few days ago. How close are you to finalizing some of the language in the RFP, and what can we expect, moving forward in the coming weeks?
So we're actually meeting on Tuesday to really kind of nail down everything that we want in there as far as language and how we want what we expect from anybody who's going to be a third-party operator. So we're trying to get that worked up on Tuesday of next week. Have to share that with the city manager. So I think we're probably 2 or 3 weeks away from having a good document. And then, like I had mentioned before, we would bring that back to the Golf Advisory Committee so they could see the document. And then we would also take it to the park board so they could see it as well.
Right. And we would not be, tied to anything. We don't have to accept, the RFP or any proposal that comes our way, after that, correct?
Right. I think that's kind of what was, hold on one second. I kind of think that's what was expected when we had the meeting in regards to Kemper and First Tee was, let's go out there and see what other third-party operators we can find and what's the best bid. And as we're doing that, we actually make evaluations on our system. We can compare what other people are presenting and compare it to our system, and we can see what's best. If somebody else is better, then you do that. If it's better doing it internally, then we do that. In the short term, I think hiring a golf superintendent to run everything, in the short term, I think we're losing out opportunities to save some money and put that money back into the golf courses. It's going to be hard to find somebody, especially if it's going to be a temporary situation. But afterwards, or if the direction is, hey, let's stop right now and let's not do the request for proposal, I'd be all for hiring somebody. You have to go through the hiring process, just like everybody else. But yeah, I'd be ready to have somebody take this over.
Okay, Richard?
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that Troy's on now. Troy, the there has always been a disconnect from the Golf Advisory Board to actually getting anything done. It generally, we passed a motion last year, about a year ago, to change the fee structure on carts. Still isn't being done. I just wondered if you're going to run it, how is that going to work? Before, I mean, I don't know where it died. I'm guessing at the park board, but there isn't any cohesive chain from what we pass to even be considered. I mean, the system is kind of dysfunctional. We pass things and it gets ignored. And how are we going to improve that if we don't hire somebody?
So what I wanted to propose for next meeting was actually start talking about some of the increases we've been talking about with the carts and also with the fees, with the passes. Nothing crazy, obviously, but we all have talked about this and that we are underpriced in each one of those. I think we're losing money, and that's something that I really want to address. However, to your question, we brought those recommendations forward, and because this thought of going to a third-party operator, council didn't want to move forward with making any changes until they find out what's going to happen with a third-party operator. So that just kind of delayed those conversations. I think once we get this out of the way, because I think it was the Golf Advisory Committee, the Park Board had suggested, let's look at what we're going to do with a third-party operator. Once we get past that, I think we can go either one direction or the other and go full speed.
So Dale, I see your hand, but I know we're kind of coming up on 5 o'clock for Nancy. Our role as a golf advisory committee is to support the golf staff. So I certainly want to, give an opportunity to Keith and Scott and Colin, Shanna, if you want to jump in as well. What do you guys see? What do you guys need? You don't have to say anything, but if it's on your mind and you want to share, please do. This is your time. So what do you need from us?
Well,
not to put you guys on the spot, not all at once.
Well, we're heading into the busiest part of the season, and to do that understaffed is going to put a lot of pressure on everybody. We've tried to make some changes here to alleviate some of the hours that my staff is having had to do. So hopefully going forward that'll work out okay, but we're in the process of trying to get more carts up and running, but we can't get batteries at this point right now. They're on order. So it's just sort of waiting and doing little things when we can to help alleviate payroll hours here is what we're trying to do.
And we have lifted the hiring freeze, correct?
Yeah, I've got 2 in the works and 1 more to add. So
okay.
Possibly I'll have three new staff here in the next few weeks whenever HR can get ahead and get everything going for them.
Is there a battery back order all over the place, or what's going on there? I know materials are kind of wonky right now with lumber and structural steel and everything in the construction industry. Are we seeing battery back orders now?
Well,
Eddie, if I could, Niall got bumped out. He's trying to get back in.
I just let him back in.
Thank you.
As far as I don't know, I know we've had them ordered for a few weeks now and just haven't been delivered at this point. I don't know what the problem is in delivery.
Interesting. Okay. Scott, Colin, you guys got anything?
I'll kind of echo what Keith said. Right now we're trying to ramp up the staff. Lisa Grissom downtown has done a remarkable job of trying to expedite and get some of the staff on board. But as we all know, the painful process and the slow timeliness of getting people through that system is a little bit difficult, but we're getting there. But as busy as it is right now, training staff is going to be a little bit difficult with the few staff members that we do have. And with the schedule that we have here at Auburn with, tournaments and leagues and everything just going out of sight as far as numbers, it's a tough go every day.
Yep. It was a Saturday, we had 298 booked rounds at MAC. That is bizarre. I think we had 230 paid rounds that day. And for MAC, that's a new era.
Colin?
I agree. We're doing really, really well. It's just a matter of getting these people that we hired through the hiring process, which is just going to take a few more weeks, and hopefully we'll find some new applicants. Usually we do once summer hits, because then we get some better people that can just work in the summer that will help us out. But that's really where we need to get to. And once we have the staff in place, I think we're doing really well. We're making tons of money. It's busy all the time. So I think we're on the right track. We just need to get those people through the hiring process and find a few more.
Need to
Eddie, if I might
get them
chime in.
graduated. Go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
While we're trying to do our best in the clubhouse, the biggest struggle right now, and I'll just speak for our superintendent, Ron Mosier, here at Auburn, we can't find staff. When you're trying to maintain a golf course with 3 people, including the superintendent, and 2 part-timers, one of them a retiree and one of them a school teacher, things don't get done on a regular basis. And as we all know, they're not coming here for the soft drinks or what you got in the golf shop. They're coming here to play golf. And our product, whether it's Auburn or Tex or Sim or Mac, they're all struggling because when you can go to McDonald's and work for $10 an hour, or Target for $13, $14 an hour, we're not getting the caliber of new hires that those particular positions require, and it's hard.
Yeah. Are we marketing our job opportunities to local high schools and other things like that? I'm sure we are. Do we have a bulletin board or a poster?
Well, the problem with that, Eddie, is they have to be 18 years old to operate equipment.
Okay.
So we've been doing a lot of social media push. And I think we can probably do a little bit more than that. But in regards to connection with the high school, a lot of the high school kids that can work in the clubhouse, that's kind of where that kind of fits in. But yeah, the equipment is always a big question because we have to get the kids that are 18 years and older to be able to operate that equipment.
Well, certainly, we've got friends in Newman and of course Wichita State, and some of the surrounding colleges. Those guys should be 18 unless they're really, really smart. I know down at Winfield at Quail Ridge, they hired 6 or 7 football players to come out and run the mowers at 4:30 in the morning. When they got done with that, they'd go to their weights and go about their day. So maybe that's something to look at. I'm sure you guys have gone down that path as well, and hopefully it's been successful. So.
Hey, and Eddie, I'll just add real quick, we're not a unique scenario. You can drive down Rock Road and there's a bunch of flags that look like somebody's hosting a garage sale, and it's leading into the maintenance shed at Wichita Country Club, and it says apply today, start tomorrow. So, we're not unique in this, which was mentioned earlier. Comparing a restaurant to a golf course, probably not apples to apples, but when you look at that example, it really is. So just a thought right there.
Yeah, good point. Dale, real quick.
Yeah, I would call the question. First, I would like to make the point, no public golfer I speak with, and we see a lot of them, is in favor of an RFP. There is no support for an RFP amongst public golfers. There might be among those who play private courses or who don't play golf, but it is virtually unanimous among the folks. If you go to Auburn and ask them, they say the answer is not an RFP. That said, I'd call the question.
So again, I'll just respond to that real quick. The RFP is not binding. We can say no to every proposal that comes our way. So that's my quick response to that. With that, Nancy made a motion to pause the RFP. and to immediately hire a new golf director. So we've got a motion and a second by Dale. No further discussion at this time since we're coming up at 5 o'clock and we need to get Nancy in the air. So with that, all in favor?
If they roll call,
Aye.
Would you like to do roll call?
please.
Okay. I'll start at the top here. Dale?
Aye.
One aye. I will go nay. One aye to one nay. Nancy? Two ayes to one nay. Michael?
Muted.
What was that, Michael? Sorry.
He's muted.
I think you're muted, Michael. Sorry.
I guess I was muted too.
Yeah.
I said aye.
I believe it's two ayes to two nays. Niall?
Aye.
Three ayes to two nays. Richard?
Aye.
Four ayes to two nays. Motion passes. So we will take this to the park board. Hopefully, Troy, can we get it to the park board on Monday? Again, muted.
Hi,
Yes,
guys.
we'll put it out tomorrow.
Bye, Nancy. Travel safe. I want somewhere warm.
We'll put it out tomorrow.
Sorry, Troy. Go ahead. Okay, thank you. All right, we skipped over item D here, so let's move back to the equipment fund.
So we have approximately $160,000 in the equipment fund, and we are looking at what the inventory is in each one of the golf courses, what are the conditions, what are the priorities, and then we'll start looking at pricing so we can replace some of the equipment. I would expect that we're going to grow that by the time we get through the summer. Yeah, I want to spend all of it at one time, but we definitely have the opportunity to replace some equipment, and that's what we plan to do, is get at least several pieces of the equipment replaced.
And the pros have been communicating with you and Gentry on that, correct?
Yes. Superintendents.
Yep. Okay. Any questions on the equipment fund? Sorry, I'm at the bottom of my list here. Dale, did you have a question?
No, I'm just encouraged by what Shanna's comments about that there will be a process to move forward. I know there are needs, and I hope that moves quickly. One of the problems we've had is a timely response to our needs, which speaks to what we're just talking about. So going forward, it sounds good.
Yeah, and certainly there's clearly some supply chain issues across the United States and quite frankly the world. So if there's some long lead times on some items that you guys see that it might take 6 months to get in on a new mower, let's say, then let's expedite that process. So that's my only comment.
And
So,
since this is a fund that's created by golfers making a payment on it, that equipment surcharge, it'd be great to have a little communication to the golfers. I don't know how that happens, but maybe on Golf Wichita or whatever, to provide an update of what we're doing with the equipment money that we've collected.
So one of the reasons why nothing was purchased in the past was because we were waiting for the RFP process to go through. I'm sorry, not the RFP, the last opportunity with Kemper. And now that we're going to a third-party operator, they'll be using our equipment. We want to make sure that they have some decent equipment as we pass that on, as well as the repairs to some of the infrastructure in the golf course. So my thought on this is we want to try to spend some money to upgrade the ponds or the roof or some of the other infrastructure that we have. That doesn't necessarily come out of the equipment fund. The equipment fund is strictly for equipment, but the whole philosophy is let's see if we can get some things fixed and get some things replaced.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the equipment fund? See none. we can move forward to item 2F, marketing plans.
So we do have some leftover marketing money, and Shanna was going to give a little bit of presentation of what we can do to use that money. Just some ideas and thoughts we can look at. So I'll pass it on to Shanna.
This is going to be the fastest presentation you've ever seen. All right, so our marketing plan, we have, next slide please. We have a $40,000 budget for our marketing throughout the year. And typically in the past, this is how we've broken down our budget. Over 25% has gone to the Golf Wichita app, half has gone to media buys through Cop Media, and then we use email marketing software, quick print for print pieces, and then we distribute the golf guide throughout the community to make the public aware of our programming and tournaments and special events. It's a great tool for our staff in the clubhouses to be able to pick that up and hand it to a customer to give them information about what's happening throughout the year. This year specifically, we've seen savings with our marketing budget because we didn't print the golf guide because we were unsure of our situation moving forward. Our Golf Wichita app was moved under a different line item in the budget, and media buys now through Cop Media are strictly television and radio, which means all social and digital media can be done in-house. So because of that, we've seen opportunity to utilize our marketing budget in different ways. Currently, you can see we've spent a little bit of money so far. We have media buy with COP for about $20,000 for television. We're going to circulate 4 different commercials. So that leaves us some opportunities for social media, digital display through Google, YouTube, and radio ads. And that leaves $17,000 in our marketing budget, and we are looking to see what recommendations the GAC has for marketing efforts. Told you it was going to be fast.
Thank you, Shanna.
Yep.
That was like Usain Bolt fast. Richard.
Yes, I've always thought that for the membership program to work, the seniors were going to come, but it is a really, really good deal for people at the top end, couples for sure, that are going elsewhere, country clubs, and are we going to spend any money at all trying to enlarge that part of our membership program?
Right. Oh. So two of the 4 commercials will include membership information, trying to push them to apply to become a member at our 4 courses, pushing the efforts that why pay for just 1 course when you can have 4 for 1 low monthly fee.
Niall?
Are we going to mention the fee?
I'm sorry?
Are we going to mention the fee?
Of each individual membership?
No, targeting it toward the couples. In other words, and I can't remember what our couple deal is, but the couples can pay whatever is $110. It can't be beat. That is I understand we're going to make some adjustments, but I really believe that unless we get the numbers out, they have nothing to compare it to. When we say low rate, play 4 courses for one fee. If you tell them $110, then tell them to do the math.
Okay.
So I'll trust your copywriting skills there on the 5 and 10 and 15-second commercials, etc. From a marketing guy myself, I want their attention grabbed, and then I think we can sell them on the numbers later. I don't know if it's imperative to put $110 in a 5-second commercial. So if they're curious about it, they'll figure it out themselves. Dale, did you have a question?
You're muted, Dale.
Let's go to Niall.
Thanks, Eddie. Considering all the problems or the trouble you're having recruiting help, I wonder, is there any prohibition in that marketing budget to use that for advertising the jobs?
That's definitely a great idea, and we can definitely allocate some of that 17,000 towards hiring. Absolutely.
So I'm really optimistic as to what Michael's about to suggest here, because this is right up his alley. This is kind of what he does. I've listened to him, talk about it. So, Michael, I've hyped you up enough. This better be really enlightening.
Well, thank you for that. And I guess what the question I was going to ask, and I missed a little bit of the lead into that, I apologize. But, of that $17,000 budget, and I'll preface this by saying I spent some time in the agency world. And so I know players in that world who are subject matter experts from a modern marketing standpoint, a digital marketing standpoint, a very, demographic specific driven standpoint. I don't know if there's any room, and I guess I would pose the question of like, in that $17,000 budget, is there room to go explore, freelance people who specialize in certain areas, or agency individuals who specialize in certain areas to help us get the messages across that we're trying to get across? And the reason I say that is, commercials are certainly not ineffective. But I think for, what we're trying to achieve and the demographic we're trying to reach, we can probably, really benefit from some specific target type marketing through specific channels. And there's a lot of people who do that for far under $17,000 budgets. I know we could find somebody in that range who's a subject matter expert in that. I know enough to be dangerous. I know the verbiage. I know plenty about that world, but I know a lot of people a lot better than myself as well. I think it's at least a question worth posing. That's all I got, Eddie.
Certainly a grassroots type effort, a targeted effort to the certain demographic that we want to, go after and see at our courses. The commercials are almost like an affirmative. If they hear it, they know it's legit, they know it's real. So that's why commercials are still a thing. However, in my world, my demographic, 25 to 40-year-old people, I think they want to feel targeted, instead of, driving down Kellogg and, oh, there's a Golf Wichita ad. I don't know if that, really points them in the right direction. Certainly it helps and it keeps it top of mind, but, kind of back to what Michael's saying, we need a pointed effort at landing some of these guys.
Yeah, and I mean, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, Eddie, like just for an example, guys, just to show you like what's possible. I mean, like we have an email list of when you go in, you have to check in and say who you are, and if you've been once, you have an email address that's in the system. And I don't know what the data looks like on the back end, but my assumption is there's an email list with everybody's rounds played by year or by 2 years or by 3 years, and you can filter that list down to say, hey, here's every email we have in the system who's played, only one round in the last, 18 months. And then you can build a targeted approach specifically to those people. You can build a targeted approach to the Dale Gunters who've played, as he's mentioned, 600 plus rounds over the last couple of years, and that looks a lot different. And then there's a lot of room in between and a lot of age groups in between and a lot of demographics in between. I think you can maximize that when you're operating on a $17,000 budget, which isn't a lot anyway, and then only a chunk of that can be applied towards the marketing. You really have to maximize every penny. And I think there's a lot of ways to do that. Actually, I know there's a lot of ways to do that, and I know all the people who can do it where it's more effective than a commercial. So just my food for thought. I'm happy to provide references and plenty of people in that space.
Absolutely. Yep. Richard, did you have another question?
Well, I also have a background. I've won 2 national awards for writing commercials, and it's call to action. You have a very brief, generally we live in a society so that is, there are so many different media that it's taking more and more and more visuals or audios to get someone to call to action. So going back to, I think we sell our best case, and the more general we make it, the less successful it's going to be.
Dale?
Every golfer will tell you the number one thing that sells them on playing golf is the course conditions. The next thing that's most important is the quality of customer service. We've got a record turnout of golfers, so if we're going to direct our marketing money, I'd like to think our resources go to improving our course conditions, which is going to do more to maintain our current influx of golfers. And if we're going to have a priority, to put it towards maintenance and the quality of the courses.
I would agree with that as well. Certainly, when you walk off the golf course, you want to, you always want to have good things to say about it, whether it's the layout or the, the zoysia fairways or the, the sand or how quick the greens were or whatever it may be. That'll keep them coming back. And certainly I'll give you a little short story here on this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I played in the WGA City 4-ball over at Crestview. And, typically after the round, I'll go into the bar and grab a water, another cold beverage, and kind of sit around and talk to some people. And I don't know how it came up. I think it was fairly organically, but they started talking about how much they were paying out at Crestview, certain memberships, super juniors, juniors, all the way up through the family, and then they something came up about our membership, the city memberships, and one guy, I don't think he knew who I was, just mentioned something offhand about, oh, that's terrible or something like that. And I think we need to change that stigma, because I think it is a stigma a little bit in some minds. Whether they don't think the courses are that great or customer service, whatever it is that's not bringing them out there, we need to change that. So whatever that is, and I think it's a combination of everything that was just mentioned from Dale and Richard and Michael. I think it's a combination of that $17,000 of, keeping the course in the right shape, which I think they are. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job with the resources that you're given, or targeted marketing approaches, the new age, and then certainly the copywriting and the radio ads and elsewhere. So that would be my suggestion. Those 3 right there. I don't know if that helps you, Shanna, but certainly those would be the top 3 priorities.
Eddie, I appreciate that anecdotal evidence. I'd like to invite you perhaps to the Auburn Hills Men's Club when they tee off, or the seniors group, and speak to those folks. There's no stigma about public golf amongst those of us who are playing public golf. That might be the case at Crestview. I understand that, but we're talking about a specific audience here. And perhaps going forward, it might be useful to get the Golf Advisory Committee to visit the courses on a field trip of some kind. I mean, McDonald has some serious challenges right now in terms of growing grass and being presentable. And that's something we need to, marketing is fine, but we got to have a product. So, but again, public golfers, are the source of information that should help drive these decisions.
Well, I understand, Dale, that you're talking about a specific audience. What we are talking about in marketing, and in my opinion, should be growing that audience, correct?
Well, I think it's growing and retention. The big concern following the pandemic surge, and you'll hear this from people at Billy Casper at Kemper, is that there's a risk of losing that big influx we had. I think the rule of thumb for them is they're 25% of those folks may not show up this year. So retention of the folks who are already there, I think, is the primary market. It's not, that's more so than the people who aren't playing golf at all. And word of mouth, PGA in their study that they did pointed out that the best golf marketing is free. And it's from people like me and you who play golf and talk to people about what's out there. So I think the focus is that primary audience is the retention of this great surge of golfers that we've got, because they've been there, they've seen it, and that's the most likely source of continued growth.
I agree, but we're talking about reaching new audiences with a surplus of marketing money. So I agree with you that we need to retain them because it's 7 times less expensive or whatever the numbers are. And those are really old numbers, by the way. But, you know, and that's why I agree with you about the course conditions and the customer service. Now, I also agree with Michael and Richard that we need to get more golfers out there so that we have a better opportunity to retain more golfers.
And I would just say the vehicle to do that, to get the new golfer, is more likely to come from an existing golfer talking to a new golfer rather than a non-golfer seeing a 30-second spot on TV. Sure. And this
I don't disagree with you on that. And I don't disagree with you on that.
I think we're on the same page. It's just a matter of, it's limited resources to begin with. It is a pittance of money considering the impact we want to make, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Niall?
Well, I just want to say I'm glad that you're committing the resources that you are. How you go about that, I'm sure, is going to have lots of opinions, but I just want to be one voice for saying I'm very happy to see an active marketing program taking place. Wish you luck, and I know you're probably going to do your best.
Thank you.
Yep.
And like the others, I've had a lot of background in media as well, and I'd like to think we show accountability. If we're gonna, it should be results oriented. Just throwing money at the wall and hoping something happens isn't sufficient. So when we track what we do, can we evaluate its success and have a report on that, perhaps, you know, mid-year, end of year?
Michael, can you talk to that a little bit about how that, you know, those email campaigns work? I'm sure they come back with kind of a synopsis of, you know, how many people bounced that email, and I'm sure I'm butchering the terms here, but how many click-throughs and how long they stayed on it and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and Eddie, I mean, you know, depends on the method, right? You know, email, social media, you know, you can't really tell how many people watch a commercial other than whatever KWCH sells you that they're telling you are going to watch that commercial. But when you go to the digital space, you know, and you run a targeted ad at a set budget, you know, a set dollar amount per day, you get, you know, data and analytics that say, hey, here's how many impressions, here's how many 3-second videos, 5-second video, you know, minute and a half video views you had. So as far as tracking, plenty of opportunities in that space. I do think, you know, branding and sales are 2 different things. So, you know, selling is conversion based. You can attach a transaction to it. Building brand and long-term brand and brand equity, you know, to Dale's point, word of mouth, you know, you can't track that, but that guy still walked into the course and paid his money. So kind of 2 separate things, but yeah, I mean, you get as much data as you want to get. If you have call to actions on there, whether that be, you know, hey, call this phone number, that's all tracked, how many people actually did that. But that's all dependent on what the objective of the ad piece and the ad set is, not just the, you know, generic. It's all kind of specific.
Right. Yeah, that's good information. Shanna, did you have anything else for us? Did we kind of help you or give you some direction there, I hope?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a very robust email database. There's over 15,000 people in it. Weekly, we see new subscribers to our emails. We see people that opt out as well. We have segmented lists based on the clicks from previous emails. If somebody's interested in something, let's say Dale clicked on a beginner group lesson, then he gets moved into that segmented list so we can target them specifically later down the road when we're pushing certain programming. So we do a lot of segmented emails. I definitely am on board with Michael's concept of targeted digital ads. We've used those in the past and we've seen success with that.
Excellent. Of course, as always, please utilize us as a resource in whatever way we can, whatever capacity. We're more than happy. That's why we're here. So feel free to reach out if you need some help or whatever it may be. We are here for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Dale wouldn't be clicking on the beginner class. He's played way too much golf. He's in the advanced level.
You're right.
So.
You're right. The next step, group lessons. That's right.
I'm only advanced in age, Eddie. I'm sorry.
Very good. Any more thoughts or questions for Shanna here? Excellent. Let's move on to the T-sheet no-shows.
So we kind of had this discussion with the golf pros, and we were talking about how the T-sheet is managed and what happens when people don't show up. And those are lost opportunities for revenue if somebody else would fill in those spots. We've had a situation even where in the processes that we have right now, that we have some folks that we've put a band on, or we asked them to verify or whatever, but it's getting to a situation where people are actually coming in with pseudo names, registering and then not even showing up. So it's just a conversation I know we've had in the past, and something I think the golf pros wanted to get a little more direction on and have a little discussion on.
Okay. Richard, I know you talked about this a little bit. I can't remember if it was last year. It might have been pre-COVID. Do you have any thoughts on the T-sheet no-shows?
It's always been a problem to figure out what to do to them, and because the alternative is to make everybody use a credit card, and that pushes people off. I don't have any magic bullets to try to figure out whether or not a $5 deposit. I mean, $5 deposit is still a deposit, but again, looking at whether or not that's going to drive more people away or away from using the system versus calling in, because if they call in, we'd be tying up our folks with getting that deposit. The best way is, by the way, just out of curiosity, do we have caller ID in some form that allows us to know where the caller came from?
Yes, we have caller IDs on all the phones.
Sometimes those numbers, sometimes the names don't show up though, it's just the numbers.
Well, I guarantee you we can come up with the, you can trace those numbers pretty easily, actually. And so maybe that's the answer is we start banning numbers.
So I guess I've got a quick question here. Have we ever experimented, or are we experimenting with kind of a timetable window? You know, I don't know if it's 2 hours or 6 hours or 12 hours. I'm not sure what the specialized number is, but you know, if they call in prior to that window, they would not have to pay a surcharge or a late fee or whatever it may be. However, if it falls in that window, then they are subject to having their credit card charged or, putting it on their account, if you will?
With our software, we are not able to take and hold customer credit card information. That's also a city policy, so that's something we looked at when we purchased the software from this vendor. Because we have standalone credit card terminals, they are not integrated with our software, so we cannot take deposits online if people were booking online. We used to take credit card information before 2014 when we utilized the Fairway software. But in December of 2014, when we switched over to Club Profit, we had more restrictions and security parameters that allowed us to not have to worry about taking that credit card information. But what we're facing is golfers are finding the loopholes to our restrictions. And so it's just creating kind of the inevitable that we're solving one problem and then we have a new one pop up. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. The golf professionals met a couple weeks ago and decided that they wanted to kind of tighten the parameters of what we have in place right now. So a golfer can book online at one location only a day for one tee time. And then if they no-show 2 times, then they're booked from online booking for 6 months. And our software automatically resets June 1st and January 1st. But we're still seeing issues where golfers are creating fake accounts after they've been blocked, or they're booking a tee time for 2 or 3 people and just showing up by themselves because they're a single. So that's where our constraints are right now.
Those darn golfers are too savvy. If we keep moving the goalposts, they're going to find a loophole. Niall.
Niall, you're muted.
I know, and I'm also fumble fingered, having a hard time getting a hold of it. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Just had is there a number or some way to gauge the size of this problem, or is this like 5% of your bookings don't show up, or?
I'm going to let the golf pros speak on that because they all do an analysis of their tee sheet for the month of April to look at how many no-shows they had versus bookings versus paid revenue.
Right. So
Scott,
how does that square out?
Scott, you want to share that information?
Yeah, Niall, during the month of April, Auburn Hills averaged about 18 no-shows a day. Of those 18 no-shows, 13 of those 18 were done online through a mobile app or their home computer. So I don't have that number right in front of me, but that number was pretty substantial. I mean, echoing what Keith said a couple weeks ago, on a Sunday we had 290 something booked, ended up with 254 with about 40 some no-shows. And of those 50 some no-shows, I'd say probably 3/4 of them were through their mobile app.
How many of those no-shows were fake accounts?
Hard to say.
It's hard, yeah, we can't track those fake accounts. We just know that they're on the tee sheet.
Is there not this guy joined 3 years ago as opposed to 3 hours ago? There's not a whole lot of information. Okay. Dale?
So what was the consensus anyway? What's the number, or what?
A lot.
What's the magnitude of this problem?
Fairly large. I haven't been able to sit down and count the April no-shows here, but I would agree with Scott. It's quite a big number.
And I was able to report in our software, I think at the middle of April year to date, we were at about 24,000+ in no-shows.
Do we ever get lucky and kind of supplement that with random walk-ups? Say that guy should have teed off 5 minutes ago, he's not here, have at it?
we do that a little bit here, but you know, we get a lot of calls for tee times for 3 hours down the line, and we don't have anything available for a foursome, and then all of a sudden there's 2 or 3 within 30 minutes of that tee time that they were looking for that didn't show up.
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't know that until 10 minutes
Right.
beforehand.
Yep. Dale?
I know there are problems with the chronic abusers, those people who use fake names and book times and don't show up. But I also want to note that I make tee times every week, and it'll be for, we'll reserve 5 spots. And sometimes you don't get 5 guys, you'll get 3 guys. If I've got 11 players, then we need 3 tee times to fill that. Well, that means there's 15 spots and only 11. So you have to temper the no-shows. That, I don't think you can ever get around that. You have to accommodate the serious golfers and the ones that aren't trying to take advantage of the system. But I certainly agree there should be some way to, those chronic abusers, those who are doing it in a really sinister fashion, need to be dealt with. If there's, I don't know what the answer to that is. It may just be a cost of doing business. I wonder what other golf systems use. Have we done any surveys about what other municipal golf course systems or private systems do to mitigate that problem?
They probably have a technology system that allows them to utilize some of the things that we can't. That would be.
Some of the ones that I contacted said they require a deposit to book, and it's a minimal fee, and then if they don't show, they keep that deposit.
So, and I know that's city policy, Shanna, Troy, whoever. Is there a way to change that policy if it's 24,000 a year at one golf course or whatever? You know, that's pretty substantial and clearly a headache to the golf pros at each one of these courses.
We are actually working with Emma and the finance department to look at having our credit card system reintegrated with the software. And once we do that, then we're really taking a big step forward with technology and what we can do. We could take green fees through the mobile app. People could pay a day in advance. We could even take deposits at that time without storing credit card information. So there's a lot of opportunity there. It would offer a concierge level of service to golfers, upselling them on merchandise in the pro shop, F&B. So we're pretty excited about moving in that direction, but there's a lot of hurdles we have to get past to make that happen.
I'd also like to compliment every pro we work with. If we show up with more people, sometimes we have 2 tee times and people show up, they make every effort to get us on the golf course, which offsets, then you're getting more people than you booked in, which kind of goes the other direction. So the pros really do a good job on that end. And I think if it's a matter of dealing with the chronic abusers in some fashion, it's not the rest of us, I think, that are the problem.
No, absolutely. And I think the first step is getting the chronic abusers, you know, that sounds weird to say, but the chronic abusers' credit card information and then hold them accountable for showing up. Now, if they book 2 tee times or 3 tee times, Dale, like you're saying, and they show up with 11 as opposed to 15, I don't think we hit them with that extra 4-person charge by any means, but you know, we got to keep them accountable from just not showing up at all.
And do you temper the fact if I make tee times for the week and it snows and you can't play golf, I usually don't call and cancel the tee time if the temperature goes down to 10 degrees. Are those considered part of the math, or do you sort those out?
We don't no-show due to weather. I don't anyway.
Okay, that's good.
But I do know, you know, we have some groups here that play weekly that when I've spoke to them about having, you know, 3 or 4 tee times and only showing up with enough people for 2, can't you call us and let us know? And the answer is that we get is that, well, we don't know until we get here. So it's not just people online that aren't showing, or booking online that aren't showing up. It's across the board.
Yeah, and to me, Keith, that's not a good enough excuse. If I'm in your position, that's cutting 2 tee times, straight away. They've got to be in a group text message or a group me or whatever, and say, all right. And this is where I come back to the timetable, whether it's 2 hours or whatever. Okay, I got to pick up, my daughter at soccer practice. I can't make it today. That conversation needs to be had before they get out there. They can't just show up and see who's there when they're booking 4 tee times. So that's the conversation that I would have with them.
That's an education thing on us trying to convey to them that it's important to the overall health of golf in Wichita, that they need to do that for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I would encourage that. Continue to educate them on that. So
The other thing, Eddie, that's frustrating, and I'm sure that everybody else experiences it, is, and some of them are habitual, make a foursome on a Saturday morning and show up with 2, knowing full well that they only had 2.
I know show up.
Well, I do as well. But I mean, we know who they are. I mean, in an example out here, if I see that twosome or I see that particular name on the tee sheet, I'll go in behind them and put in a squeeze time, because I know that there's going to be some time openings, and it allows me to pair up.
yeah,
The problem is as busy as we all are, whether it's Mac, Sim, Tex, or Auburn, we cannot have twosome, threesome, twosome, single, twosome. And when you have those habitual tee times that think that they're going to play as 2, I mean, that's costing us revenue.
Yeah.
Going back to the no-shows, I mean, that $24,000 in revenue is just green fees. That's not counting maybe potential cards, green balls, and concession revenue. So, I mean, while it may factor in a $24,000, $25,000 loss in revenue, that doesn't really give you the full revenue loss, because we don't know what those people would have spent had it been somebody else on the tee sheet.
yeah, that's a good point.
Scott, I played on courses where prime time twosomes don't go off until another twosome shows up and they're made into a foursome. They're just put on hold. Is that part of the solution?
Well, it could be a solution, but unfortunately, with staffing limits, none of us have starters. While we
Or
have
marshals.
I do have marshals, but the marshals are more in compliance with carts and other things. But it's difficult. I mean, we're all trying to work on a tight budget. I mean, it would be fantastic if we had a starter. But from the location that I sit from here, I mean, I can pair up twosomes. But I mean, typically on a busy Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I don't put twosomes on the tee sheet. And my staff tell everybody that calls, we want to play as a 2. I'm sorry, we don't allow twosomes. We'll pair up, because I mean, those are lost dollars. That could be on a weekend. That's another $90 in our pocket if we just let a twosome go out there and don't pair up with them. So it's difficult. And we try not to, but that's not to say that, a twosome may not be out there if there's nobody to pair up with them.
Yeah.
Eddie,
Yep.
what is it that you're wanting from us today?
I think I'll let Troy answer this, but I mean, certainly we just wanted to have a discussion about what can be done, moving forward. Is that correct, Troy?
Just want to make sure you guys were aware of the problem, and that is, it is an issue. And it's having an impact on a lot of different things: customer service, revenue, bottom line, resources. If there's a solution, we would love to hear about it. There's some things that I think some other golf courses do in regards to, you have to prepay, there's a deposit, if some of those things are the answer, then we can start, and there's suggested answer or supported answer, then we could go ahead and do some research and see what we can go in what direction. But in general, I just want to make sure you guys were aware of the problem.
Could we defer this item until such time as you've got a concrete suggestion? It sounds like technology is one of the bigger barriers to some of the solutions. but can we just say that at our next meeting, if you guys are going to bring some kind of some plan for how you're going to deal with it, and we can discuss that in detail?
Yeah, we can bring different options. Yeah.
Because we're just going around in circles here on this. We know we got a problem. But now we need to rely on you folks for concrete solutions and that we can get behind.
Well, certainly the technology is imperative to this, and our pros do a great job of recognizing the guys that'll come in twos, but they'll put 4 on the tee sheet or whatever, and that's incredible that they can remember that, and they do a good job with it. But certainly, I know, Shanna, you mentioned there's a couple, hurdles to traverse. What's the timetable? What are we looking at? I know you mentioned you're working with finance right now. What can we expect over the next couple months in terms of moving forward on this particular issue?
Well, that is a great question, and I think I can provide you more information at the next meeting after we've met with finance to see where we're at. The biggest component is the gateway processor, because our software does not communicate with Bank of America, who's the city's bank. So we have to find that third-party entity that communicates all the way through for us. And that's what we're meeting with finance about, and going over fees and what costs would be to replace equipment and that sort of thing, if it's going to be increased or if we're going to save some money with credit card fees, things like that.
Okay, and if it is a fee increase, who would incur that cost? Is it a general fund situation?
No, that would come from the Gulf Enterprise Fund like it is now.
Okay. All right, well, I'll look forward to more information at the next meeting then. And if there's anything else, speak now or forever hold your peace. And we can move on to item 2H, communications.
In regards to that, I better turn on my microphone. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about making sure that there's good communications with the Golf Advisory Committee and staff, but also with their appointed, from their appointed park board members. If there's any suggestions of what we can do to improve it, just want to make sure that we're keeping up with communication. If there's anything we can do to make it better, but particularly that communication with the park board, I think is important as well.
Well, I think it kind of falls on our shoulders, and I would suggest if you don't already, please at least have a 15-minute phone conversation once a month with your park board member, and kind of keep them in the loop so that they can keep their thumb on what's going on in the golf world. Certainly they get a little bit of it at the park board meeting, but we're diving into the weeds here, and if you don't already, just please communicate with them. And if you don't know who it is, ask myself or Troy or Shanna, and we'd be happy to get you that information. Okay, anything else? I don't think so. So no continuation of prior business. I don't necessarily have a president's update. If there's nothing else that needs to be discussed today or that needs to go on next month's agenda that we haven't already talked about, we can adjourn this meeting. All right, this meeting is adjourned.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you later. You guys all have a good night. Take care.